What's up, you beauties? Welcome to another live HW episode. I'm Jim, and I am joined by the one and only, the host of the HW Full Circle Show, my esteemed co-host, Jack Smith. If you're not listening live, please make sure to subscribe and follow and listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or Spreaker. Quick shout out to our affiliate sites, fullpresscoverage.com and bellyupsports.com. Belly Up Sports recently updated their site. Go check it out during our episode. They have everything you need when it comes to sports, and they are ever growing. We're very excited to have joined up with Belly Up Sports. You can find many more exceptional podcasts. We have a couple of guests coming up on Monday, and we'll tell you about those guys later on in the episode, but they are also affiliated with Belly Up. Great podcast. They have a lot of stuff there. Go check them out. While you're listening to our episode, go check out our site, hwhockey.net. Okay, man, I'm like out of breath already. It's been a long week, Jack. So for everyone, once again, welcome to our 2021 Trade Deadline preview show, where we're going to take a look at a few moves already made, discuss what could potentially be on the horizon for the Flyers, as well as give our own humble thoughts and opinions on what we think they should do. So Jack, let's kick this off. There's been a couple moves made already. Do you want to kind of dive into those before we get into, some Flyer potential trades here?
Yeah, absolutely. Some of the teams, I consider the trade deadline kind of really starting when Montreal acquired Eric Staal. That was the first playoff move that I really saw. Everything before that was either very minor. I guess you can consider Colorado adding Jonas Johansson. I don't think so, considering they're still looking for goalie. They're still attached to a couple of goalies. So just a real quick run down some things there. Montreal, as you saw, acquired Eric Staal for a 2021 third and fifth. Brendan Lemieux was shipped to LA for a 2021 fourth from the Rangers, and that was so they could bring up Kaprizov. Or no, what's his name? They're a Russian young stud from the Joel Farabee draft 2018. His name escapes me at this time.
Repeat the trade again. I missed the trade.
So the Rangers moved Brendan Lemieux, but all they got back was a fourth round pick. But the idea was to bring up their Russians. I think he was
Russian Wayne Gretzky. But yeah, Kravtsov. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. Kravtsov. Yeah, that's it. Okay. Mm-hmm. As we saw, Chicago and Florida made two different moves. One of them was a non-starter. The other one was Florida freed up a lot of cap. I think it's 3.5 this year, 3.5 next year, which we were told by Fletcher that was impossible. So that was good on them. You got a team that didn't really need to free up a ton of cap because they unfortunately lost Ekblad for the season, but they did it anyway. And they're connected to just about a lot of guys right now being dangled. The biggest news we discussed a little bit earlier in the week was Kyle Palmieri and Travis Zajac being traded from New Jersey to the Islanders for prospects AJ Greer and Mason Yopes. From what I heard, Yopes has an outside chance being an NHL player. And also a 2021 first round pick and a 2022 fourth round pick. That's by far been the biggest move. And just about an hour and a half ago, Toronto acquired Riley Nash, who is currently on the LTIR. For a 2022 conditional seventh that will become a sixth if he plays in it's either 25 or 50% of the playoff games. I cannot remember which one exactly. This move here is the Toronto GM playing chess.
He's sneaky good.
Yeah, because this guy, with their cap, they're going to look to, they're interested in Ryan Miller, some goaltending depth. I'm sure they're looking at defensive depth as well. So the fact they can acquire a guy like this and not have it affect their cap because he'll literally come back to start the playoffs. He's a pretty solid fourth line guy. He knows that Trotz system. It's a pretty solid ad. So yeah, he's playing chess while the rest of us are playing checkers, and Chuck Fletcher is playing Go Fish. Yeah, so it's a sneaky move. It's going to pay. I don't know if it's going to pay dividends, but it's a good move. It's hard to argue that. So far, that's everything that's going down. We don't expect. The Palmieri move was the biggest move, and a lot of us didn't see Zajac going with them. But of the big dominoes to go so far, really, I wouldn't even consider Staal a big domino. It was really just Palmieri. So I think the biggest domino now, offensively, is still Taylor Hall, even with his subpar season to say the least. Nick Foligno for Columbus is getting a lot of praise right now. You could see Mike Hoffman go. Obviously, things haven't necessarily worked out too well there with the Blues. On the defensive end, Ekholm, Savard, Montour, Manson, names of that nature. But there's a ton more. Granlund from Nashville. Goaltending wise, Jonathan Bernier has been Scott Lawton in Philly has been being discussed, but from I don't know if you want to get into the Flyers right away or
No,
stay
let's
on
talk.
some of the
Let's
other
talk a
teams.
little bit more about some of the trades that were already made, because they're, they might not be some of the biggest moves, but certainly, at least in Eric Stahl's case, names that have been bigger in the past. Which of these deals do you like, and which do you not like?
Well, I really, the more I liked it when we first reported it with the Islanders deal, acquiring Palmieri and Sajak, but as time has gone on, I realized how much more I like it. In the fact that they really didn't give up any good prospects. Even if I think Yost makes the NHL, I don't see him being any kind of an impact player. They did not have to give up Kiefer Bellows. And if you're going to give up a first-round pick, this is the draft to do it in, with everything being up in flux. And on top of that, you just gave up a fourth. So it's really a Lou Lamoriello move with Lou Lamoriello guys, and it's probably going to work out pretty well for them. Seems like they're really going for it. I don't know if they're done, but it's really hard to dislike that. The deal we just reported with Toronto getting Riley Nash, simply because it's almost like it was such a low draft pick. It's from 2022. If things go good, it becomes a 6. Big deal. Doesn't affect your cap. Doesn't affect the rest of your plans. This trade deadline and these playoffs, and it's a lot of grit at the bottom of the lineup. Who's gonna, when you're in the game 6 and 7, this guy's going to be a pain in the ass for some teams, and especially if he's healthy. He's got to get healthy, but the odds are he will be. I like Florida clearing up cap. Can't argue that. I mean, making Fletcher look pretty stupid. Yeah, that's really it. I mean, yeah, I liked Stahl from Montreal, and it felt like they didn't give up too much, and he did have an overtime goal pretty quick into them getting him. It's not any moves I don't like. Even I'm surprised the Rangers traded Lemieux. I thought he had a future with the team, even if it was a bottom 6 role. But to just move him so they can bring up their other Kraftstoff was a little odd. But if I were a Rangers fan, I'd be very happy that I'm seeing Kraftstoff. So that's hard to dislike. So yeah, I mean, I haven't seen any like lopsided, fails. New Jersey's probably hoping they got a little bit more. That being said, now I think New Jersey opened the door for for 2 players to go in the same deal. For example, Savard. There's been no real movement on the defensive trade front. Dennis Savard they're asking for a first-round pick, and the team most interested in, I don't know what team that is, but allegedly has said we're not giving that. So now if you start to talk, well, what if we give you Foligno with that? Will that get you the first plus? I think we may see that. I think you may see both guys get moved. I don't know where they would go. Montreal makes sense depending on the cap. Teams retain salary. One thing I didn't mention was how much salary in New Jersey. They retain 50% of that salary. I mean, that's a lot. So yeah, it's going to be tough to see, but I think the door's been open for different styles of trade. A lot of money's probably going to be retained as well. And the next domino for me, offensively is Hall, and defensively, I think it's going to be Savard before Ekholm, personally.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of names out there. I got to tell you, I love what Bergevin's doing in Montreal, man. Like, who said you can't go for it in a flat cap year, right? All the moves he made in the offseason to make his team better. I mean, they haven't played better of late. They have young centers in Kakanyemi and Suzuki who are not having as good a years as last year. Suzuki's struggling a bit. Kakanyemi's been moved to the wing. And so they bring in a guy like Eric Stahl, been around the block, won a Stanley Cup, to play center for them. And if you look at the Flyers roster, they have Sean Couturier, obviously, Kevin Hayes. That's it. They're struggling a little bit at the center position. Why not take a look at Eric Stahl? I haven't wanted Eric Stahl like, oh my God, please go get him. But for me, with this roster, the way it's constructed, Eric Stahl would be a nice fit on this roster. They need what he can bring to the table as far as experience, former captain in Carolina for however many years, won a Stanley Cup. If he says something, you better listen, because listen, no one's won jack shit on this Flyers roster. right? So who's gonna speak up and tell Eric Stahl he doesn't know what he's talking about, even if he is playing a third line center role, maybe playing on a second power play. The guy knows how to score, right? They could use the guy like that. You're telling me a third and a fifth round pick is too much for a guy like Eric Stahl? Not sure of his contract, but if he's a UFA, maybe he's a guy you bring back for cheap next year. Maybe. Uh, I can't remember if Fletcher brought him to Minnesota or not. I can't remember. Um,
I think he
I,
did.
Sneaky. I thought that was a good trade for Montreal. I feel like, a guy like Eric Stahl may have lasting effects on some of the younger players on this Flyers team if, he's to not resign next year. You can learn a lot from a guy like that in a short amount of time. And I think the Flyers need more guys like that. They need more role models for these younger kids, guys who have been there, done that. So I really like that trade for Montreal. And you mentioned the Islanders trade with Palmieri and Zajac. Dude, it's hard to get much better than that at the trade deadline, especially if you're the Islanders losing your captain in Anders Lee, and you go out and get two lunch pail guys in Kyle Palmieri and Travis Zajac. And for what, a first round pick in 2021, where we mentioned, scouting these players hasn't been the same. And if the Islanders are going to go deep, which they're expecting to, that's going to be a late first round pick anyway. They're in win now mode. So those, I think, are my two favorite trades. That Dubas trade for Toronto is obviously a little bit creative. It gives them, I think, space to make another move, and maybe Riley Nash comes back and helps them in the playoffs. So interesting stuff. We're seeing GMs get creative. Still waiting on Chuck to do his own thing there as far as creativity. All we've had to this point is excuses. Why not? Why it's hard to trade? Why his job is hard? And we're definitely going to get to that. Before we do, Jack, we have a comment from our buddy Amadeo Gracia. Amadeo, thanks for hanging out with us again, man. What would you think? So we kind of talked a little bit about this the other night. And Jack, you're a Johnny Gaudreau guy. He's a very skilled player. Let's talk about Amadeo's scenario here. Probably would require moving Konechny, but I think getting Johnny back home would elevate his game. I think you said something similar to that the other night, Jack.
Yeah, I think it would definitely revitalize his game. I don't know what the entire trade would consist of, but what I do know is I would like him here. Yes, I don't know how necessary it is to acquire him now, or if you just try to work something out. I believe he's going to be a free agent, if I'm not wrong. But then again, if you're paying free agent money, that could be a bad thing, especially during a flat cap era. So maybe there is something to trading for him now. And you're sending out a contract, you're sending out a player. I don't know what else they would ask for or want, honestly. I don't know how much leverage they really have. There's also Seattle to consider too, so you got to be careful who you're acquiring and whatnot. So I would consider. I would like him, and I would trade Konechny. I see a scenario where they can get him and just in free agency, maybe after the Seattle draft or however that's going to work out. So you have a better idea of who's still on your team, how much cap you have. I wouldn't be if you're bringing in Gaudreau, then you're. I think if it's a free agent move, you're trading Konechny because that's who you're essentially replacing. So like why you're not going to have those two guys on the team, and you're going to need as much money as you can. I don't know Gaudreau's going to be the $8, $9, $10 million guy he once was going to be, but it's going to, and he might give you a little bit of a discount if he's coming home, flat cap, consider that. Yeah, I don't think it gets done at the trade deadline by any means. I could see him maybe going somewhere for a little run and then hitting free agency. Would I like him as a Flyer? End of story. Yes. Jimmy, I believe you have a different feeling about that.
Yeah, I don't really like Johnny Gaudreau, but here's the thing also. So I think the scenario the other night was a little bit more of a blockbuster type trade, like three guys going one way, three guys going the other way. If they are going to do like a smaller swap, whether that's TK and like a pick or something for Gaudreau, I might be okay with that, but only if Gaudreau is not the, supposed final piece of the puzzle. They have to go out and get bigger, more physical players. I don't want to just watch small, jitterbug Johnny Gaudreau. Let's bring in our buddy Kyle here to the stream. 1 second. Let's welcome him in. Everybody give him a big hello. There he is, bud.
Oh.
So, Kyle, we're talking a little bit about a trade scenario here. And let's get your opinion on right off the bat. We're not even going to ease you in, just throw you right into the fire. Thoughts
Do
and
it. The whole
opinions
team.
on Johnny
I'll trade him
Gaudreau.
for the. Well, what are we giving up?
Doesn't matter yet.
But it does.
I'm just asking. What are your thoughts and opinions on Johnny Gaudreau?
I mean, it could be a big motivator for the guy to come and play in Philadelphia, hometown. I mean, that goes a long way, even though people will say it doesn't. It does, though, when you're playing in front of family and friends. It goes a long way. I would give up some things for Johnny Gaudreau, but not too much, if that makes sense.
That's kind of where I was there too. I mean, unless it literally is just a guy like Konechny who you'd be essentially replacing anyway. It's more money, but it is a better player. I mean, and I think he would love playing home. There's a lot more to this puzzle. We don't just add him and things are fixed. Like, we need defense. We need players on offense who actually like playing the sport of hockey and don't take nights off and think that giving a full effort is having the puck on their stick for a full 60 minutes. But, he's going to have to move mountains in the offseason. And I have zero confidence in him right now. If he does something at the trade deadline, Fletcher, then maybe I can gain a little bit of confidence. I'm worried that he's going to sit this out completely.
What gives
I have
you that
to agree
feeling?
100%.
What I had heard from Elliot Friedman earlier, he was either today or yesterday. Well, I heard it today. I don't know when the video was, but it was about Scott Laughton and his availability. He could be dangled. Teams would like him if, say, a team like Montreal, who just lost Brendan Gallagher, can't get what's his name from Columbus. I just brought him up earlier. Jesus, the captain. Yeah. Then I think like Laughton would be an attainable player for them. But then I had heard that Laughton loves being a Flyer, and I appreciate that and everything. But like, we need to do. I don't think he's trading anybody else, really. I think these are like hopes and dreams that Raffl gets moved, or Elliott gets moved, or even Gustafsson, for God's sake. Like, I just don't. I think Laughton's the easy movement to actually get something worth getting back. If he really likes being a Flyer, then he can come back in free agency, and we'll go from there. He hasn't been extended yet, so
that's exactly my thought process behind the move of Scott Laughton. Is it's solely a rental move. Like, hey, Scott, we can send you to a team who has a chance of winning a cup this year, as long as you promise to come back. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I would gladly get rid of Scott Laughton if it meant he's coming back next year, and I can trade him for a second round pick. Something of value. Honestly, I'm looking to build for the future. I don't know about you guys with this trade deadline. Like, if I'm moving guys with salary for salary. I am shaking shit the fuck up.
How are you going to do that, though? Because it's a lot easier to say than to actually do.
It's off season. That's more of where the shakeups come from. Is off season. Unless you're going with another team that isn't really in the playoff hunt, like a Calgary, or you know what I mean. And even Calgary's not. Are they that far out? They're done, right?
They're bad, but they got a
Bennett's
shot to
one
make
of the
it
top
still.
names on the list from what I've seen. I mean, he moves up and down, but he's clearly being dangled. You're not doing that if you're a legitimate playoff team.
Well, that's what I mean. Like, so, like, even the Flyers, they have a chance of making the playoffs. Are they going to? Everybody who watches them knows that that's not a fucking chance.
Yeah, statistically, they have not yet been eliminated, but, like, let's have a dose of realism. Even the games they won this week, they are still giving points back to Boston, and they screwed up against the Islanders, so they're done. They forget it. He's got to add some assets that he can use in the offseason to I don't even want him to draft. I want him to move some shit around.
Yeah, that's how I am. I mean, honestly, like I said, salary for salary is so like connect me for Gaudreau. That would be salary for salary. Yeah, Gaudreau makes a little bit more, but it's a salary for salary move. A Voracek for a guy like Getzlaf. Obviously, that's not a fucking move. That is it. Honestly, if you think about it, though, it's not a move that's out of the realm of possibility. But that's kind of what I'm thinking. Like shit like that. Something to shake the fucking core up. because obviously something's fucked with this core. Something's fucked with the coaching. This team is just like top to bottom. There's too many issues to fucking overcome at this point.
How many? I'm sorry. So our buddy Chris Still over here, the core has to go, shake up the whole thing. We'll play a little game. One player and only one player from this roster gets traded. Who is it, Jack?
Voracek. You mean realistically or
No,
actually?
just if one player had to go in your eyes, who is it?
But it's got to be realistic. I can't just say who I want.
No, you could say who you want.
Oh, Voracek, easily. Like, if he's gone, I think you still get something out of Giroux. Like, Couturier still is a very good player. He just won a Selke. Like, he still can score.
Yeah. And he's over a point per game.
Right.
By far. What's he got? 30 points in 24 games, 25 games?
Yeah, and he missed some time, and he picked right back up where he left off when he came back. And he's a guy that everything we hate about Voracek, he does. He's always done. So like he's a really great player to have around. We got to be careful with what we pay when it comes time to resign. But like we already know that Voracek is the worst contract on this team right now. And that needs to go for that regard. If he was making significantly less money, maybe I pick somebody else. But maybe I don't because of what he means to this core and what we discussed at length. Yeah, sure, he'll have his good games from here and there, and he'll put up points. But you put anybody with that kind of ice time, they're going to accumulate points playing with certain players on this team. We lose nothing moving Jake Voracek. Yes, we'd have to spend that $8.25 million properly, but I would rather take that chance to keep pushing forward with this same core. And when I look at all the guys who make up that core, and it's really who are we talking about here? It's it's Couturier, Giroux, and Jake. Anybody else is still kind of somewhat interchangeable, came along later in the process. Voracek has the worst contract and the worst play when you compare him to the other two. So that's an easy one for me.
Okay. Kyle, now but you can't pick the same guy.
Oh,
you're a piece of shit. Realistically speaking, I would love to get rid of Voracek. Obviously, like I said, a Voracek for a guy like Getzlav, a Voracek for a guy who's at the end of his career but has the heart and soul, like can give this team a shot of fucking leadership. You know what I mean? That would be a great deal, but I'm not allowed to pick him.
I know.
So,
okay.
So I'm not allowed to pick him. I'm gonna have to go with shit. You guys kill me with this shit,
dude. There's like 5-6 guys that you can get rid of off this team.
There is, but there isn't though.
Yeah, there is. You can't say that for everything.
Guys, I know, but there's not a guy who immediately comes to mind. Like if I had a choice to get rid of somebody on the team, who would it be? Well, obviously Voracek. That's like your go-to. I would say
doesn't come to mind. Nolan Patrick.
They can't get rid of Shane Gostisbehere. I'm not even bothering to mention him. They posted them for everybody in the league. Like, take them for free. What do you think? I'm just going to pull like, oh, yeah, we're going to trade Ghost. That's a guy who I'm going to pick. Get the fuck out of here, Jim. Come on, dude.
Well, you picked the same answer as Jack.
No, I know. I get it. So I'm going to go with a guy, if we're talking about realistic, a guy who can net a decent return. I'm going to go Travis Konechny. Guy has been underperforming now for an entire playoffs and an entire year. I think his value is still pretty high. He's still got a ton of fucking upside. And I see you down there, Christopher, calling out Nolan Patrick. I'm not ready to give up on a guy making only $900,000. Definitely ready to give up on a guy making fucking $6 million and not fucking producing jack shit.
So we have a comment here from Chris McCarthy. So Chris, I'm going to post this to the video here. So Chris's comment, have you guys seen the Anthony Sanfilippo article? He was polite with his knowledge, but Miss Sinelli said he was told the entire team is done with AV and Therrien, and his source had to be Voracek. See, I don't know if his source had to be Voracek.
Because our source was a bit different.
We had a source that said the exact same thing, and his name was not Jake Voracek. So let's talk about this a little bit, guys.
Interesting. We spiced shit up real quick, didn't we?
The room's gone. I guess we're almost 2 years into AV's tenure. Just a little bit over 2 years of Chuck Fletcher, and they've lost the room already. Same core, same BS. I mean, we're talking about it now. Like, there are guys that have to be moved. There's been too much of the same thing in that locker room. Um, Guys know that they're not going anywhere. They're already getting paid. So it's almost like, what are you going to do? Like, it's harder to trade a player than it is to fire a coach. And it's almost like these guys know, right? Like if they can get things bad enough, they can get their way and get rid of this guy. You know, I'm not saying that that's what it is or that's what we heard. We didn't hear anything specifically specific. When I asked, what's actually going on in that room and how bad is it? The response was, well, it's nothing good. There's nothing good going on in there. So it's like,
Okay, so I want to play devil's advocate here a
Sure.
bit. So let's say I'm a player for the Philadelphia Flyers, okay? And you got me playing a system that doesn't work for the team, right? So we're all in agreement that so far the system, the collapsing defense, the collapse to the puck, the neutral zone play, the breakout, it's all dog shit, right? We're all in agreement. That's not necessarily all on the players here.
yeah, but why is that dog shit though? Is it dog shit because it's what the coach wants to do, or is it dog shit because the players don't want to execute it properly?
How do you execute collapse 5 guys in front of the net properly?
You just do it.
As well, they are doing it, but it's not working.
I think some of
So
my
at
biggest
what point-
issues are individual efforts with this team, particularly the defense getting beat. Like Ghost, like he just gets sidestepped like so often. Like, and they're not in the right position. If they back checked, I think that's a bigger issue to me. If they actually played more of the game, like Voracek, like I could see it being an issue. But this team, like Vigneault's been successful everywhere he's gone. And one thing I will agree with.
Shit?
I mean, Game 7 of the Cup. I mean, and then he goes back to a different team.
Loss.
What has this team done? They make the playoffs. We're supposed to parade through the streets.
Well, we made it with Laviolette. Has he won shit since?
This core has who was with Laviolette? Giroux. That's it. That was it. That was the only player from that 2010 Stanley Cup run. A 19-year-old Claude Giroux. That's it. That's the only guy.
Playing devil's advocate over here, dude.
That's fine. And then one thing I will agree is I don't like
in the NHL.
I don't like how
quickly.
quickly.
Oh,
yeah, but he
great.
has though.
Has he? President's Trophy? Oh, that's great.
Coach of the year.
Did you win the cup that year? Yeah. Okay. Did you win the cup? No.
Yeah, but nobody on the Flyers has won anything though.
Huh. Well,
like no one on the
can't hear
team's
you.
been past the first round.
Jack's talking, but nobody can hear him.
Oh yeah, that is happening. So no one on the Flyers has been past the first round besides Claude Giroux. I mean, everybody, last year until Alain Vigneault got here. But Alain Vigneault has more playoff wins than this entire roster has playoff experience.
Again, so as I was trying to say before we went off on a tangent here, playing devil's advocate for the team, okay? I get what you guys are saying. I do, 110%. And I'm not happy with this core in any facet of what this core is doing at all. Like, I'm not happy. But playing devil's advocate as a player on the team, right? You put us in a system that isn't working for the team. You make 0 adjustments at all to make the team more functional. The power play, for example. The penalty kill, for example. The defensive zone schemes, the breakouts. This is what I'm just talking about. This is playing devil's advocate here. You guys, you've done nothing. The coaching staff has done jack shit. You bury Farabee on the 4th line. That's kind of a bad move if I'm a player on the team. That's kind of a bad move to me. You don't praise Hart for anything he does right, but you constantly tell him he's dog shit.
I disagree with that.
Well,
I think a lot of people are out there making way too big a deal about what AV says in the media about Carter Hart. It's because it's Carter Hart's everybody's baby, right? It's like, oh, how dare he say that? He's going to ruin his confidence. If Carter Hart,
it's not that for me.
Well, let me finish.
It's not that for me.
I know, but let me finish. If Carter Hart is a big boy who can play in a big market, who can win the World Junior Classic for Team Canada, who's supposed to be the savior for the Philadelphia Flyers, if he can't take his head coach saying mean things about him in the media, then he's not it. You know what I'm saying? Like, toughen the
Or he's
up.
20.
Toughen
it's
up,
not
bro.
it's not even that.
21?
Because I heard this too. It's my issue with it is, and Jimmy, I agree with you partially, but it's the only player he shits on. That's what gets me. Everybody else is a collective whole, but when Hart gets singled out, and I'm kind of like, is he one of these guys that needs a veteran goaltender to like make his team run better now that he's dealing with a young guy? It's an issue or something, because he really does single him out.
But that's my point, though. So clearly, me and Jack are in agreement. It feels like he singled Hart out a bit here. And if I'm a player on this team and Hart's clearly giving it his all,
is he?
And is playing good, well, as a 22-year-old goalie or 21-year-old goalie in the fucking NHL, yeah, I'd say he's playing pretty fucking hard.
Who told him to change what he was doing during a weird offseason where they're going to be playing 4 times a week in a 56-game schedule? Who told him to do that? Nobody told him to do that. He completely changed the way he played the position.
But did he have a choice?
Absolutely. Don't change anything.
Did he have a choice to stop seeing his mental health psychiatrist in the offseason? Or was that COVID related? Could he not see him because of COVID shit? Did he have a choice to not go back to Canada, back to where he always trains constantly for the next season? Or did he have to stay here and train in a different fashion? This is what I'm saying. Is it because Hart chose to do this? Or is it because that shit's kind of different this year? Not trying to make excuses for the kid, but that's
you are, though.
To an extent, yeah. To an extent,
because everybody's been through different shit too.
I think it's a combination of everything. I really do. And I as much as I don't want to let Hart off the hook, because he's definitely had opportunities to step up, and he really hasn't. He's a little bit lately, but not really. But I think he's got zero confidence. That's the issue. I don't think he's not trying. I think his confidence is an all-time low. And when you're this young and you're not used to going through these trials and tribulations, it's hard to get yourself out of it. You really just need the season to end. So but on top of that, your coach will shit on the team as a whole. Oh, we need to do this. We need to do that. You, Carter Hart, you're not doing good. It's kind of like, all right, what the fuck?
I like that, though.
It's not too much, though.
When the whole team is playing dog shit.
Once in a while, but all the time is a little ridiculous. Especially when your defense is that bad.
You're supposed to be considered one. You know, everyone's looking at you like you're going to be one of the best goalies ever, right? And I look at Carter Hart. I see him smashing his stick. I see him, pouting in the media.
Jim has been stuck on this for months.
If we see it, imagine if you're old school Lane Vigneault seeing your 21-year-old supposedly phenom goalie smashing his stick, letting the other opposition see that, letting your teammates see it. Dude, you got to curb that shit. He's trying to help him grow up, right? He's trying to show him, dude, you can either pout like a little bitch, or you can man up and stop it right now. You can turn the page, and today's a new day, and move forward. He's trying to toughen him up.
Is it that, though? Is it I'm trying to toughen him up by not making any system adjustments whatsoever to help him,
dude,
or help the team?
So here's
that's what I'm saying. We're just going to change the systems going into the playoffs. We're going to be dog shit in the playoffs. And then the following season, we're not changing a fucking thing. We're going to be great at being terrible. But it's everybody's fault.
Then why are we trading anybody then if it's AV?
No, I want to trade people just because I think the team chemistry and the team build and the heart, the want to win, the will to win, the fucking dude, just the fact that even Sam Morin's in the lineup is everybody's bright spot.
Okay, so imagine you're a coach.
I love Sam Morin, but come on, man. That's your bright spot of the fucking season is Sam Morin's playing. I'm a Sam Morin fan and I love the way he plays, but fuck, I need everybody on the team to have a quarter of as much heart as that kid has. Imagine
you're a coach and you have a system, right? And if you're a coach, you come in, your system is supposed to work, right? This is your plan.
It did. And why did he change it in the playoffs? That's my point. Why did he change it?
Whether he changed it or not, if you're a player, you execute the plan. You can't decide, I'm not going to play this because I don't like it. You can't say that. You have to do what the coach says. If not,
Jim,
ship up or ship out.
Yeah, but what was it? A couple weeks ago, you were saying the opposite.
What?
weren't you? You were saying that the coach has to realize what players he has on the team and what system works best for these
I say that?
players. You did.
Maybe, but
So
not for these
what-
players. Bring in the ones that you want and then adjust. Not for these ones.
Listen, I'm in 100% agreement that this fucking core needs to be shooken up.
Yeah.
Let me just say something on AV real quick, because it kind of ties into what Jimmy was saying about Hart. So I totally understand what you're saying about I don't know about toughening Hart up or whatever. I think it's too much. I get doing it once in a while. Goalies are voodoo. We all know that. So if I've never seen him do this with a young goalie before, so I don't know. Maybe you're right, but what I don't like is he's quick to throw Hart and belittle Hart, but then when it comes to his system, he goes on the defense. Like they just lost 9-0 to the Rangers, and then they lose 8-3. And the first thing he says is, "Well, we thought we had a good game plan." Like, how do you go from shitting all over your goalie to actually admitting that live on air after the same team and the same player beat the living shit out of you again? Like that is beyond embarrassing to me. So I go against AV when it comes to Hart, but when it comes to this core, I'm taking AV side. Because I'm tired of this core needing every condition to be perfect for them to give them a full maximum effort. Like the stars have to align. Everybody's got to be in a good mood. Everybody's got to be on the same page just for them to give us maximum. I'm not even talking about winning, just to get maximum effort. Like this core are becoming coach killers. And, nobody knew who Hacksaw was. So we killed Hacksaw. He was a scapegoat. Now it's a legitimate coach, and they're getting embarrassed. Guys, when they were dead last in the league in 06, 07, they weren't losing games this bad. This is a fucking joke. Like, I stopped paying attention to the game like after the first period last March. Like, it was ridiculous. Like, I've never seen anything like that. And that's on the core. That's not on the coach. No coach is coming in and changing that shit. This core just stops playing. They don't care. And it's not everybody, but it's a big core. It's forecheck and guys like that. It really is. And now to hear, they don't like the coach. Well, fuck them. Grow up, dude. Enough of this shit. How many coaches are you going to go through until you decide you want to play? Can you imagine they brought Mike Keenan in here? These guys would retire. They'd be so upset and distraught. They would just retire.
I posted on Twitter a while back that I just don't feel like the Philadelphia Flyers will ever be the Philadelphia Flyers that we loved growing up with. Ever since Ed Snyder died, and as much as Ed Snyder pushed some wacky shit on this fucking team, he tried. He wanted to win. He had passion for this team. It was his baby. And now it just doesn't feel like anybody in the organization really gives a fuck.
I thought about that earlier today when I saw the Flyers interviewed 2 GMs for the vacant position. And it seemed like Chuck Fletcher was the guy even before. The other one was Bill Zito, who was doing a pretty solid job in Florida. And I struggle. Why was Fletcher such the slam dunk, he's our guy? What did he do in Minnesota that was truly impressive?
Nothing. Minnesota ain't done shit.
I mean, they really haven't, and I'm like, I'm trying to understand. So is it because they think he can keep the team somewhat, I don't know, relevant enough to sell tickets and jerseys and Fanatics?
That's what it feels like to me.
Yeah, I mean,
it feels like to me it's about a money making. Okay, if we keep our team semi-relevant and they're okay and they make the playoffs every year, the fans will stay. And if the fans keep coming, the money keeps flowing, and everybody's fucking happy. That's all it's about.
Well, when you say they don't care.
Whereas Snyder was like, fuck it. We're getting the best fucking everything. We're doing everything possible to freaking win. And even if we lose, we tried.
I mean, something would have happened after the one blowout, and probably the 6-1 loss to Buffalo game 3 of the regular season. I'm talking about. We're not even getting to these Rangers blowouts and God forbid the Lake Tahoe debacle. Shit.
Oh my God, I forgot about that.
Yeah, I know. It's a long history of blowouts.
It's so long ago.
Through the cracks. You kind of forget about some because there's so many. That's how embarrassing the organization we've become. I mean, at least this season. That's when people try to defend this team. I fucking cringe. It is an absolute joke. And I'm supposed to have confidence going forward that they're going to fix this after you literally punted on the season?
Honestly, there's no – it doesn't feel like there's any emotion left except anger and frustration. And the anger and frustration seems like it's only really coming from the fans. Like I
have
haven't
to fake it
sensed
to be angry about this team anymore. I don't even. I'm not even angry.
You're
It's
a
like,
liar.
Jesus
You're a
Christ.
liar. Yeah, I know. But you turn it on and you're like, Jesus fucking Christ.
It's
Sorry
like-
for using the Lord's name in vain, everybody.
It was
but I'm
just
saying.
Easter, goddammit.
You just did it, Jim.
Let me paint a little picture real quick for you guys. We're going to stay on the same subject here. Remember before the season, like, yes, the Flyers are back. The bubble was a fluke. They're going to, contend for the division. Maybe they
look
finish
horrible.
second. And we're looking forward. We get surprised with there's going to be a Lake Tahoe game, and oh my God, the Flyers are going to be in it. Like, oh, Flyers Bruins, this is going to be great. National TV out in in Lake Tahoe. And dude, at no point. Maybe after the first two Pittsburgh games, I was still excited because it was like, all right, well, they can get their shit together defensively. It's it's early in the season. At no point did they get their shit together during this year. And now we're just days away from the trade deadline. And we're talking about trading Scott Lawton. We're talking about changing the chemistry in the locker room again. We went through how many years with Hextall just to get to this? Come on. Oh my God, man. That makes me angry when I think about that. Just tell me that there is a light. I don't even have to see the light at the end of the tunnel. Just tell me that there is one. Because right now I'm like,
There isn't.
We're going to be going through this for the next 5, 6, 7 years again.
There isn't.
It's just,
There
it
isn't.
blows my mind.
I don't see what Fletcher does to correct what's taking place at this point. Whether it's system play or whether it's players just not playing, or I cannot see how the system works in the NHL. I've never been a fan of the defensive zone system that AV employed. And when he changed it to even worse, I was not a fan of that either. So I honestly, I don't fucking know at this point. Like, I want to fucking, if the Flyers were a person, I would strangle them until they could see the light. And then I would slowly loosen my grip.
What do you think about Christopher's suggestion here? How about firing AV and luring Rod Brindamore back to head coach?
That'd be great, but you can't talk to Rob Brindamore unless Carolina approves it, and they're not fucking approving that.
No.
I mean, I would love Rob Brindamore. I don't know. You still need to change the core. I mean, I would love it. Yeah, but there's too many other issues.
Because honestly, what are we going to go? 20 games in, Rob Brindamore is going to be too hard on the players, and they're going to give up on him too?
That's what I'm saying. You're going to be, and he probably skates faster than all of them still, however old he is, and probably can play longer shifts too.
Oh, he's still shredded. Have you seen his body lately?
Yeah. Got to work at it. It takes extra work, Jim.
Listen, I'm all in favor of that, but at some point we have to get emotion back involved in this franchise at some facet. And there's no emotion with our GM. There's no emotion with our coaching. There's no emotion with our players. And at some point, this lineup, this coaching staff, this organization as a whole needs to be shot in the arm with some purebred, we want to win emotion.
I thought you were going to say heroin or something. I don't know why.
Shot of something.
I don't think opium's really going to help this club at this point.
Yeah, sorry. I'm not sure why that happened.
I have some breaking news that you guys are going to love to hear.
Yes.
The 2021 Hobie Baker Award winner has been announced.
Is it?
It is Cole Caulfield. It is Cole Caulfield.
It must feel good, Jack, huh?
Oh, let me tell you, it's the most bittersweet feeling I've ever had.
Oh shit, man! He just got called up, didn't he?
Can we change gears for a minute? Do we see Cam York making this roster by the end of the year?
Here's another question: do you want him on the roster this year?
Honestly, no, because I want to see him get. I want to see him get comfy at the pro game. I don't want to. Everybody's calling the call up wisdom and call up all these kids and yada yada yada. The Phantoms are good right now. Let the Phantoms fucking play.
Can we just
Let
call
them
the
fucking
Phantoms
win?
up? Like, let's just switch rosters. Let's have the Phantoms play the Islanders, and
that's
I would
not
rather see
feasible. But I get your point.
Make it
I'd much
feasible.
rather allow the Phantoms to get comfortable as a team. You know what I mean? And if they're going to fire the coach, bring Scott Gordon up.
I put that on Twitter the other night. I said, "How long
Scott Gordon coach, dude?
What do you get? Is like 500th or some 100th like AHL win or something?" And it's like it'd probably be more games, except for keeps getting called up to the Flyers to to be the babysitter until they figure shit out.
I mean, like I said though, the Phantoms are playing great hockey, and I don't want to break that up. They're playing great. They have confidence. They're rolling. Why are you going to break that up to bring up Wade Allison? Or why are you going to bring up fucking... Even when they brought up Lazinski, I'm like, why are you doing that? He had confidence. He had a role on a team in a pro league. Let these fucking kids play, man. Stop bringing them up to this fucking dog shit team with dog shit systems and a dog shit mentality. Just let them play.
Yeah. Give us something to look forward to, I guess. But here's another thing. And maybe this came up. I forget if it was on our show or on OMB podcast with Isaiah. Aren't you tired of watching the Flyers to see, who's going to get called up? Who's the new talent we can watch? Don't you remember what it was like when you watched the Flyers back in the day? And it was like, who are they going to get at the trade deadline? Are they going to trade for Roenick? Are they going to trade for Forsberg? Who are they going to get to make a push for the cup? Are they going to get Amani? Right? Like, you remember how fun trade deadline used to be growing up? It was like second Christmas, right? And now it's like, oh my God, please make a move. Please do something. We're dying over here. Like, do you remember what it was like to watch the Flyers when they were good? I'm starting to forget. Like, that seems like so long ago, doesn't it? Like, this team sucks in every way possible. They're not fun.
I have to say 2013 was probably the last time they were actually good.
Correction. Sam Morin is definitely fun to watch play hockey.
As long as he stays in the game.
Well, come on, dude. Okay, can we discuss that for a fucking second? What a bullshit fucking 5-minute major. Come on, dude.
And then to not call on the other guy later in the game, right?
I know. That's what pissed me off.
Let's battle for the
arms
puck.
Didn't even go up until he stayed down to draw the penalty.
Yeah.
And in slow motion, I think the guy Sudeikis stopped and went to turn back the other way because they were shoulder to shoulder at first.
They were battling for position.
Yeah, but when he did that little stutter step stop and Morin pushed him, first off, the only reason he went flying is because Morin's a monster. But if you show the one angle, he pushes him in the back of the numbers. And when I saw that, I was like, fuck. Come on, man. It's becoming soccer slowly but surely. It's sometimes you got to play.
It's bullshit because listen, I get, and I was 110% in favor of the 2-minute minor for boarding.
Yeah, it was.
Like you said, Jack, he did push him on the numbers. You can't shove a guy's back towards the board. You can't. It's just a bad hockey play. But like you said though, Cizikas kind of stopped like he was going to back up and battle for position, and Morin just kind of shoved him all right, we're battling. And Morin shoved him a little too hard, and he kind of went fucking flying. Well, that's what happens when you're 6'7".
And there was always a thing players they can't put themselves in position to get hurt, and it just looks bad because Morin's a beast. So I had no problem with it being a penalty. I can see why he better not get suspended or really fined or anything because I think he was playing hockey. He wasn't intending on trying to hurt the guy.
No, and I think it was obvious to anybody who was a hockey fan, including Islanders fans, that there was no intent to actually injure the guy, because if he had intent to injure, he literally could have broke Cizikas' neck by just following him to the boards and finishing the check. He didn't. He shoved. Cizikas lost his balance and fell, and it was a 2-minute boarding penalty. 5 in a game. Come on, that's just this kid's big and he's trying to fight people. We got to get him out.
3 now, and that's for that he's going to have that on his record now.
It shouldn't, dude. Honestly, I wish there was a way for them to appeal the record system.
Yeah, or like expunge something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I honestly wish there was a way for him to appeal that. And honestly, hopefully the guys in player safety looked at that the same way we look at it. Like, okay, the ref called it in the heat of the moment, and that's what the ref called, but we're not holding it against Sam.
Player safety, you think referees are weird? Player safety is the strangest
It's a fucking
thing.
joke.
They'll give him like 10 games, and you'll be like, what? Like, you know, and then they'll give somebody else who takes a stick and swings at a guy's head. They'll give him like a $5,000 fine. Like they make no sense whatsoever.
It all depends.
None.
It all depends on how many points you had last season, dude.
Yeah, you might be right. Like I don't know. Like,
It all depends on. You fucking Connor McDavid throwing fucking elbows, complete interference elbows to somebody's face, and that's a $5,000 fine. But God forbid somebody like Kubel did that. Forget it. It'd be fucking a forever suspension.
Or David Savard, who, by the way, is the number one guy on TSN's trade bait list. If you guys,
I wouldn't trade for. I wouldn't trade for David Savard.
Okay, that's interesting. So, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to name the top 3 defensemen on this list, and each of you can rank them in terms of who you'd want from first, second, or third, if possible, or not at all. So,
all right, let me go first. Let me go first. So you tell me I'm not allowed to use the same exact list.
Okay. So David Savard is number 1 on this trade bait list, which I think is interesting because this is a guy that we all wanted in the offseason as a capable top 4 replacement to Matt Niskanen. Fletcher failed to, pay up whatever it took to get this guy, which is fine. Here we are. Flyers suck. So David Savard, right-handed defenseman, 30 years old, $4.25 million cap hit. So that'll obviously be less. He's a UFA after this year, so free agent. They would have to re-sign him to retain his services. Number 1 player on the list. Next defenseman on the list. This is an interesting name. Jamie Oleksiak is on this list at number 9. Left-handed defense, 28 years old, $2.14 million cap hit, UFA at the end of the year. Interesting name. I'll read you 2 more just because, I just wanted to toss him in there to kind of confuse you a little bit, Kyle. So he's a guy we both, I think, like a little bit. So next, Josh Manson, right-handed D, 29 years old, $4.1 million, signed through next year. That's a huge factor. So let's remember that. Matthias Ekholm is next at 11, left-handed D. Obviously, he's going to have a lot of suitors. He's making $3.75, 30 years old, signed through next year. Of those 4 players, how do you want them from first to fourth?
First is Ekholm. Second is Manson. Third is Oleksiak. Well, no, third is Savard. Fourth is Oleksiak.
Wow, surprising. Very. Explain yourself.
First and foremost, Ekholm is the best defenseman out of the bunch in as far as overall play. He can move the puck. He is offensive. He's not as offensive as a guy like that we're really looking for, but we're not getting it out of that list. So out of that list, I go for the most dynamic defenseman, and that is clearly Ekholm. Number 2 is Josh Manson. Josh Manson's kind of one-dimensional. He has had an offensive year. I believe he put up, this is just going off my head. I'm not looking up stats here. I believe he has put up a 40-point year for Anaheim.
Good.
He has put up a 40-point year as far as I know. But he is a stay-at-home defenseman. He's mean in front of his net. He adds that heart, that soul, that thing that the Flyers are lacking. Like that, if you take a couple extra whacks at Carter Hart or Brian Elliott, you're going to hear about it from Manson. Savard.
Yes, real quick, Josh Manson, 6'3", 224, got a good-looking face, and he did have a 37-point season, so very close to 40.
Okay. So it's close.
Mm-hmm. Plus 34 that year also.
Very, very good numbers for a defenseman.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that was his second year or third year in the league.
His third full year, but if you're counting the 28-game first year, is fourth.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Manson is a guy I really like. He's a guy who can fit multiple roles for you. He can slide up and down the lineup, something we need because we can't have Justin Braun sliding from first pairing defenseman to second pairing defenseman to third pairing defenseman, when in reality, he is an AHL defenseman. He's not an NHL defenseman.
Wow, no love for Brawny.
No, oh my God. You know what? It's sad because he's been playing okay this year.
Yeah, he's been playing all right.
Compared to the rest of our defense.
He's been consistent. He's been good.
When I started seeing
Brian, I'll give him that.
Yeah, he does. When I started seeing Justin Braun playing on that top pairing with Provorov, that's when I
made your heart sink, right? You're
well, that's kind of when I was like, you know what? This season is bullshit. Like, there's no way that Justin Braun is playing on a top pairing for the Philadelphia Flyers. There's I figured he would be 5th or 6th at best, and maybe flexed in some games or not. Not playing on the top pairing with Ivan Provorov. That's when I was like, I've been mentally checked out since the beginning of March. Honestly, like, of course I watch them because I love watching this team. I love hockey. I love doing the show with you guys, and I want to know what I'm talking about. But after seeing Justin Braun on the top pairing with Provorov, I was kind of like, well, this season's bullshit. It's done. This is a bullshit season.
That was opening day for the Flyers. He was on the top pairing. Like,
you remember hearing they were like, we're going to play Braun with Provorov in the defensive zone, and we're going to flex in Eric Gustafsson on the offensive zone with Provorov. I'm like, that's BS, dude. Go get a fucking guy to play with Provorov. That's what they have to do.
Yeah. They need somebody to play with Provorov. They need somebody to play with Sanheim, and they need somebody to play with Myers for each pairing, and then we can talk. That's pretty bad. To get back to the list, I essentially agree with what Kyle said. Oh, go ahead.
I didn't finish.
So Savard, I got coming in at 3rd. Savard's the most flexible top 4 defenseman on the list, along with Manson, obviously. I like Manson a little better because Manson's younger. It's a big reason I have Manson ahead of him. Savard's, again, top 4 guy. He floats. You can float him between top 2 to the top 4, your first and second pairing. And then
minutes eater.
Yeah. Alexiak comes in 4th here for me because he just is another guy to me. He plays okay defense. He has 0 offensive upside, none whatsoever. And I just rather not bring him in to replace a guy like Sam Morin that we already have. Like, just let fucking play Sam Morin.
I tried to throw you a curveball with there. You weren't having it. You looked it off. Good for you. All right, Jack, let's go see what you have here.
I essentially agree with everything that Kyle said. The only difference with mine is I have Manson first, not necessarily because I think he's better than Ekholm. The Nashville Predators have always been a very, very good defensive team with good goaltending, and I worry about taking Ekholm out of that environment and putting him in this shit show where Manson's been playing for a bottom-dwelling team doing the best he can. He has had a good goalie, but that's essentially it. And I think the ceiling's higher to take him and put him with this team to see what he's used to being in those bad scenarios and what have you. I don't know if Ekholm is more of a system player. I still think there's talent there. Don't get me wrong. Where Manson, I think, would fit right in and just play his game. He wouldn't be affected by the surrounding shitstorm as much. I think every player would be affected by this ridiculous Flyers
just have a choice.
Hurricane. Yeah, but I feel my chances with Manson would be better than with Ekholm. Like, wouldn't surprise me. Say we did trade for him, and he's away from Ellis and all those guys in the coaching staff and whatnot, and all of a sudden he's like, "Yeah, I'm not used to this. I can't do this." Like, I still think the talent would overcome. And especially if you played him with Provorov, but I think he wouldn't get the full Ekholm that you're seeing in Nashville, where I don't think that would be a problem for Manson coming from Anaheim.
Valid point. I have to somewhat agree, yeah.
Other than that, I rank everything the same. Savard, I was never overly that impressed. I just feel like he plays on a very good defensive unit as well. These guys are close. I'm nitpicking here. he's like they're asking for a first round pick for him, and no, like come on, he's like worth 2 seconds. I think is a good deal. Essentially, the Alec Martinez deal I think is comparable for what Savard should go for, and were the other guys I would give up a first, no doubt. And then Alexiak, I agree with Kyle, just another guy. Like we have other guys who are interchangeable like that. No reason to really jump out there and try to make something out of somebody who's we don't need, and they're not that really anything special.
Although, that being said, it would be fun to see Oleksiak and Morin on the same defensive pairing. I'll tell you what, there's going to be a lot of suspensions dished out that fucking game.
Fuck it.
Okay, guys, so we are about an hour in, and something we didn't get to yet, but I really want to hear your guys' thoughts and opinions on. We kind of do this, I think, every year for the last 2 or 3 years. I want you to put yourself in Chuck Fletcher's shoes here. Last year, you could do no wrong. You went out and you signed your second-line center, Kevin Hayes, after trading a fifth-round pick for him. Outstanding. Maybe you overpaid a little bit, but hey, that's what you do in free agency.
Yeah, it certainly looks like an overpayment now.
Sure, and we're going to get to this second year. You went out and traded for Radko Gudas. You traded Radko Gudas for Matt Niskanen. Looked like a great trade last year. Who could have foreseen Niskanen retiring? Right, another catch-22 there. Traded a second and a third for Justin Braun. We were all happy about that, except for Jack. And when it looked like, the Flyers were going to be going for it for a couple of years, me and Kyle were saying, hey, great trade. You went and got your guy. You outbid everybody else. Now that things have kind of taken a turn for the worst, it's kind of like maybe second and third was a little bit too much for that guy. So everything's kind of changing in year 2. Things aren't going your way. Okay. Niskanen retired. Braun's taking a step back. Maybe you overpaid for him. You paid Kevin Hayes $7 million for 6-7 years. He's kind of regressed to the Kevin Hayes that we heard that he used to be before Philly. If you're Chuck Fletcher, what are you doing? What would you want to do with this team? Let's start with Jack first here. You're allowed 3 moves. What do you do?
Is this starting from the trade deadline or just in general?
Yeah, okay. 3 realistic moves. No, like
I'm going to try to keep it as realistic as possible. I'm going to move Scott Lawton. I mean, I would preferably like to move more, but if I only have 3 moves, I'll just move Scott Lawton for the best return I can get. I'll go into the offseason, and I'm going to try to package Konechny and either Myers or Sanheim for either a forward or a defenseman. And depending on who I get, I'm going to try to make another move down the line to get whatever I didn't get. And the final move is I'm going to do everything in my power to get Seattle to take Jake Voracek off my hands. I'll give him a first-round pick if I have to, especially in this draft.
That's spicy because
he needs to go.
We know that you love, your higher picks and you're a little bit more reserved in trading those. Now you're saying that you'd be okay moving a first with Jake.
Considering the 2021 draft is going to be a major crapshoot, that's the one draft I'm willing to. This is a draft I'd rather have multiple picks instead of high picks because you just haven't seen these guys play much at all. There's very little scouting on these guys. You wanted to see certain guys take that step up when the guys ahead of them got drafted and moved on to see what you have and see how well they are. And you didn't see that. You missed a whole season of that. So you're going to have a lot of thrown darts. And I would rather have more darts than, what I perceive as better shots, really. So if I'm going to get that money off change the core of my locker room and all that, and hopefully it don't take it first. I'm just saying how important it is that they get Voracek off of this, that money and that mentality off of this team. And I don't care that people say, how are you going to replace those points? I have $8.25 million. I'll find a way. I'll either move somebody up and add somebody else, or I'll put it on the defense and we'll work it out. Well, that's what being a GM is all about. Maybe I'll bring back Lawton as well if I can manage that. Maybe Nolan Patrick surprises me. Who knows? The point is the locker room needs a major culture change, and that's the number one culprit, especially when you consider how bad his contract is.
Okay. Kyle, what do you think of those moves before we get to yours?
Actually, I'm not completely indifferent to those moves. Me personally, I tried to move Voracek for another player with a similar contract, like a change of scenery type deal. somebody who has a little bit of size and actually plays with that size, unlike Voracek. Maybe doesn't put up as many points, but brings leadership qualities to my locker room. I try to shake up the leadership more in my locker room than just giving Jake away and trying to sell him for a pick, and I'm not against that move, but I feel like I try to exhaust those resources first. Like, we'll give you Jake for Jake for the one move that sticks out in my head, and obviously it's never even been talked about because one of them has no movement clause. Voracek for a guy like Ryan Getzlaf, end of his career, but it's a money for money move, and you're going to bring leadership immediately to your team.
Yeah, I know that. So is this, before we go on any further, would that be one of your key moves that you'd be making if you were Chuck, or you're just still talking about Jack's moves there?
No, you asked me about Jack moves.
Okay, so here's an interesting tidbit there. So I was just kicking shit around. I think it was last week. And I had mentioned, you know what it was? It was April Fool's Day. I think I had mentioned a trade of Jake Voracek, Shane Gostisbehere for Ryan Getzlaf, and I think it may have been Josh Manson. I'm not sure. Getzlaf's on the last year of his contract. He's 35 years old, center, captain of that team for, everybody knows how long. Jake Voracek's got 5 more years. The money matches. Anaheim's building. Who knows if Getzlaf wants to play there anymore. Maybe they need a leader in Jake Voracek to come around, and what kind of contract he's got. The money he's got. You don't have to worry about re-signing him or anything. Nothing's really out of the realm of possibility, but, just a little tidbit there for anyone thinking, that could never happen, blah, blah, blah.
Well, I'm gonna pump the brakes on that.
Yeah, no. I think, like I said, I'd propose an April Fool's trade just because.
Oh yeah, well, I mean, think about how much money you'd be sending to Anaheim. That'd be like, what's it, 8.25 and 4.5? Yeah. Like, Jesus Christ! And what's Manson making? Like,
4.
4 and a Getzlaf, but he's done after a year.
Yeah, so they'd be taking on like $8 million.
I think moving Voracek to anybody, and even during a regular year, is a monumental task. During a flat cap era, holy shit! And if I'm Anaheim, I don't want any parts of Voracek. I would either let Getzlaf walk, and then I would take a run at Laine. Laine has said he wants to play on the West Coast, and it's either the Kings or Anaheim seem like two big. I would use that money for that. Voracek, they're going to find out real quick how bad of a move that is. Not to mention, he'll be 32 next year. Like, and he's not a leader. I mean, come on, at all. If we can sell him on it, great. But that's a tough one for me. I think they'd rather, even if they did move Getzlaf, they could bring him back at a cheaper price if he just wants to stay in Anaheim or something, kind of like what we would do with Giroux. But if
he's got no reason to go anywhere.
Yeah, if I'm using that money, I don't want to put what will be a 32-year-old guy with incredible cap and a flat cap era on my team when I'm trying to rebuild. I don't think it's feasible to trade Voracek. That's why I'm saying Seattle or bust is how I feel about Voracek.
Yeah, I agree. Kyle, let's get to your moves here, buddy, old pal.
So my first move right off the bat, if I'm Fletcher, is I'm packaging Nolan Patrick and Scott Lawton for the trade deadline and seeing if I can add a piece for next year, whether that be defense. I feel like you could definitely, if you throw Nolan Patrick in, I feel like you could definitely bring back a top 4 defenseman, if not top 2 defenseman, and a pick for Lawton. Obviously, it's going to be a little difficult because the teams you're going to be trying to trade with are teams that are going to be looking to bolster their roster for the playoffs. So your best bet is to obviously trade just Scott Lawton straight up.
Okay.
So if I can package them, I do. I move Patrick and Lawton together, and I try to add a piece for next year and a pick. If I can't, I just move Scott Lawton for a pick with a handshake deal that he'll be back next year. And then I move on to the offseason, like Jack said. I try to unload one of the 2 big contracts to Seattle, whether that be Voracek or JVR. I'm not quite ready to move on from JVR yet. I'm more ready to move on from Voracek, but it's going to come down to a price. What Seattle wants to take. I'm not ready to give up a first-round pick to move on from a Voracek. But if they want a third to take a Voracek, or they want a second to take a Voracek, I'm okay with that. If they want 2 seconds to take a Voracek, but spread out over 2 or 3 years, I'd be more inclined to move Voracek for that. If that doesn't pan out, then obviously JVR is probably your best bet. And then I try to package Voracek or JVR, one of the two that don't make it to Seattle, with a guy like Sanheim or Myers.
Interesting.
To a team for a piece or two. I would really like to get 2 pieces back. I would like to get a forward with a little bit more heart. Again, my sole factor here is I want to get some grit on this team. I want to get some heart. I want to get some points out of a guy coming back. And then I hit free agency again. If I can woo Getzlav into coming here for a pretty decent price, then I do. Because you're going to be giving up, again, like I said, I want to unload a guy like Patrick, and you're going to be looking for a third-line center. And what better third-line center than a guy like Ryan Getzlav, who's borderline still, even at his age, a second-line center.
Yeah. I agree. Yeah, a lot of the intangibles that he brings to the table this team needs. It would be fun. I would back that move. Jack, your thoughts on Kyle's moves?
I don't know a whole lot about Ryan Getzlaf's situation or thoughts. If it's free agency, he just might be one of those West Coast guys or Anaheim guys. I don't know. Would Eric Stahl be a free agent after this year? Because maybe
I believe so, yeah.
Fletcher got him once. If you do that, maybe Stahl's the guy. As much as I would love him.
I wanted him last year before Buffalo signed him.
Right. And I think that might be more of a reasonable, if we were to move Patrick. The only thing is and this goes even with my trade scenarios, the entire team lost value. Like all the players across the board just lost value. It's going to be so hard to move. Like a year ago, moving Myers or Sanheim, we would have gotten a ton. Now it's kind of like, they still have value. Don't get me wrong, but in Patrick, he really doesn't have any value right now either. There's an article I wanted to pull up. It's just a headline. Flyers have shopped Nolan Patrick hard. That's according to Flyers Nation, allegedly. If that's the case, it sounds like that because of the situation he's in with his headaches and not playing as much. And then now that he is here, not producing as much, I think we're stuck with him, at least for another year.
Well, not necessarily. He's only on a 1-year deal.
Well, you don't want to let him walk.
RFA. Well, he's RFA, right?
He is, but you don't want to let him walk. That's what I mean. Like
that's why I was suggesting a packaging, because he's an RFA, so you're still going to have to sign him to a deal. I just feel like that would be a nice sweetener.
But you're saying him and Voracek is your package?
Well, yeah, because somebody's going to have to take Voracek, and you're going to need to sweeten that pot a bit.
Yeah, so it's tough. I mean, he could be a little bit of a sweetener. That's a lot of. I mean, you're going to have to re-sign him. I think Patrick, because he played a full year, will at least get like $1 million. So that's $9 million plus going one direction. I don't know. That's tough. I don't know who that would be.
But on the bright side, though, like my point to packaging Patrick in with Voracek is you can take some cap back. You have room to take some cap back if you're unloading a Voracek contract. So you can get a guy who's making 6.5, 7 mil.
Oh, yeah. No, you're not trading him for picks. I mean, maybe a team like Calgary comes to mind. It's the only thing.
Yeah.
I think are Monahan and Gaudreau free agents at that point? I think Gaudreau is.
No, Gaudreau's got 2 years left.
Was he really? I could have sworn he was almost done.
No, he's got two or 3 years, yes, and Monahan's got like 4 or 5.
Well, if that's the team the Flyers need to talk to, especially if you can get him to take Voracek. Sure.
And I would even half consider sending Voracek and Patrick and Sanheim or Myers, one of the two, to Calgary for Gaudreau and Sam Bennett.
I wonder how Calgary fans look at like these scenarios from their end, how they feel about some of these names. You know, would they be like, Voracek's fucking terrible, or do they actually think he's not halfway too bad?
Probably
Honestly,
the same way we look at Gaudreau.
It might. But Gaudreau, I mean,
all he needs is a change of scenery.
Really big numbers on some of his years. I mean, 99 points. So, okay, let's bring this up. Eichel keeps being dropped in the chat. Pretty much every live stream we do, Eichel comes up. I'm all about it, but
they're going to get him for Provorov.
It's going to be Provorov, Couturier, Farabee, 2 first-round picks, and we're still I don't think we could get them to take Voracek in that deal, and we still would be stuck with that core, And I would, don't get me wrong, I would love Eichel. You're moving a lot of players that we need, and we're still stuck with some of the guys we're trying to get rid of. Now I understand having Voracek in a deal and going to get Gaudreau, Monahan's, maybe even that's a little out in left field, but we're going to lose a lot to get Eichel, and maybe it's worth it. But I think the Rangers are honestly more equipped to pull that move off than we are.
Honestly, realistically speaking, Calgary's not happy with their core, right? That's what I keep reading is they're fed up with their core. That includes guys like Gaudreau and Monahan, right? We're fed up with our core. That includes guys like Voracek. I don't know who else would be packaged in on that deal. Because they're not going to take Giroux and Gaudreau. Plus, you need Giroux to waive his no movement clause. That ain't going to happen. It would be the best trading partners for a blockbuster type trade. If you were to send, would anybody be disappointed here if we went either this trade deadline or in the offseason acquired a guy like Savard and a guy like Josh Manson, right? And then traded Myers, Sanheim, Voracek, and Patrick for Gaudreau and Monahan. I mean, that would be a hockey trade. If I'm looking at it from a specific, you know what I mean? Like a realistic trade. Yeah. They need defense. They They get 2 young kids.
No, I mean, I pumped the brakes a little bit because our defense gets a little old there, which isn't the worst thing, but it's going to cost us financially to re-sign Savard. Manson,
but you do save a little bit of money in I don't believe either Gaudreau or Monahan are making over $7 million.
Gaudreau's close. He's like what, 6.5, 6.7? I don't know what Monahan's making.
Still $2 million in savings if you're taking Voracek for him straight up.
But if you want to keep these guys, you got to re-sign Gaudreau in a year, and he's going to want more than what he's making. Maybe not as much as we'd have thought, but it's going to be more. That's
he's
really
in his
out there.
hometown.
A lot of moving pieces.
He might take that hometown discount for being in his hometown. I'm just saying.
I hope. I mean, now
theoretically speaking.
Can I ask you guys a question real quick?
Of course, Uncle Jim.
Why do you want these guys? They're losers. Why do you want them? They're Calgary's.
Well, we're losers.
We're losers. We're worse.
Why do you want to trade losers for losers?
They've won their division at least once. They've been like the number 2 team.
All right, hold on,
Jack.
Let's pause for a second. Jim,
because our last 3 shows I've seen Gaudreau and Monahan. I'm like, why do you want these guys?
They're available. I think it's because they're available. Yeah. If I had my choice, I want McDavid and Draisaitl, but they're not available.
Like, who stays up late at night to watch Calgary Flames games? I don't.
Calgary.
You know?
I can't.
All right, let's time out for a second. Everybody pause. Everybody pause. We got our 3 moves. Me and Jack's 3 moves. Jim, since you're always the guy spitting this shit out, but never actually commenting on it, what are your 3 moves? Chuck Fletcher?
Right. So if I'm Chuck, I'm already looking towards next year. My first move is to trade for a top pairing defenseman. Nashville, I think, has been playing better of late. They may not trade Ekholm. Not sure if they're open to trading Ellis. I'm not sure how long he's out for. If it's for more significant time this year, maybe they'd be open to moving him, clearing some cap space, or maybe they want a guy, I don't know, maybe they want a Voracek. I'm not sure. Let's say in this case they don't. Find a way to trade for Ryan Ellis. You can trade for him, put him on your long-term IR, and figure out a way to move salary over the offseason. My second move as Chuck Fletcher would be to go out and sign a second pairing defenseman. And, the name I wrote down here is Savard. He'll probably get, I would assume, over what he's getting now, probably get around $5 million, 5.5. Matt Niskanen money, really, because that's what Niskanen was making. So now you've just added $6.25 million to your payroll in Ryan Ellis. In the offseason, you're adding 5.5. Let's go up. Let's round up high in Savard. My third move would be, figuring out a way to get rid of Jake Voracek. I'm not sure how that's going to be, and it's, it's just going to have to happen. It's almost like you have the perfect chance to do it with the expansion draft coming up. I don't care, like Jack, I understand why you'd want to give the first round pick, because that's showing how desperately you want to get rid of Jake, right? Kyle, you said the same thing, but you're a little bit like, I kind of want to hang on to the first, but you want to get rid of Jake. I think that's one thing we're all in agreement on. Besides this team needing defense, is finding a way to get out of that 8.25 for the next 5 years. And Seattle is the opportunity to do it. Give them what they need. Yeah, give them, if they want, another position player, if they want like a good bottom sixer to fill out the, their bottom line, send Albe Kubel too. Take your pick from anybody on the Phantoms. Good, for Christ's sake, the Flyers, the Phantoms have an entire roster of good two-way forwards, that Hextall stocked the cupboard with. Take your pick. You want Rupstov? Take them. Dude, please. Name your player. Take them with Voracek. So here's what my roster looks like for next season. It's nothing drastic on the offensive end. It's nothing sexy, nothing that's going to, make your prick perk up. But my top line, I got Cooch, JVR, Farabee. Second line, Hayes, Lindblom, TK, Giroux, Frost, Allison for your third line. Lazinski, Torensky, and Knack for your fourth line.
Oh, I'll struggle with
you
that
just
line.
got rid of Knack, dude.
Okay, yeah. So let's say we get rid of.
Well, he's interchangeable. I get your point.
Okay, yeah. Thank you.
Got Frost and Allison on the third line. It just went woof, like nothing. Oh wow! I mean, that's a lot of expectations there.
But if we're building from the
our
from the
team's
net
bad
out,
at meeting those.
Let me hear your defense.
So we traded Carter. No, I'm just kidding. So Carter Hart's still back there. You got Ivan Provorov and Ryan Ellis as your top pairing. Travis Sanheim's playing with a capable, competent Savard. Is his name Derek? Because I keep wanting to. Is David, right? David Savard.
Yeah, it's David.
I think I called him Dennis earlier, so I apologize.
So that top four it's very, very good. That's a playoff top four. That's a
on paper.
Yeah, on paper. Yeah.
Yeah.
We've seen this year that paper doesn't mean shit, right?
Don't mean shit.
So my third pairing would be Shane Gostisbehere, somehow still here with, either Justin Braun or Sam Morin, who he's looked pretty decent with. Ghost has been playing okay lately. I think Hag would be gone. Find a way to get rid of Robert Hag.
Yeah, you can bring back a pick for Robert Hag, or you can bring back a depth forward of some sort for Robert Hag. I for some reason, the first guy that comes to mind.
Sanheim and Savard.
Where's Myers?
You traded Myers?
Oh shit!
Yeah, where the fuck's Myers at?
He didn't make the team.
You're just making shit up. Myers is
playing so good this year. Yeah, let's put him.
All right, Vigneault.
Put him on the third pair.
Everybody's benched.
Yeah. We're all on waivers. Teach them a lesson.
Yeah.
One name that's been discussed for just free agency, if the Flyers managed to open the cap space, would be Dougie Hamilton. I mean, if the Flyers were able to make room, how do you guys feel about Dougie Hamilton?
Not a fan.
No, go with
Straight
that.
up.
Why?
Not a fan of fucking Dougie Hamilton at all. I think he's overrated by a long shot. He's not very good defensively. He doesn't produce the numbers that he produced at one time offensively. I think you'd just be adding another overpriced guy to underachieve by a long shot. That's just my personal opinion.
Yeah, I kind of have similar thoughts to Kyle there. I know he puts up numbers. He was, I think, for a good portion of last year, I know fantasy points don't matter, but he was a top defenseman fantasy-wise before he got hurt. I know he likes museums. Fuck that. I'm not really a big museum guy.
What the fuck? I knew that was going to get brought up.
Just kidding. I enjoy museums.
Nobody wants Adam Larson, Christopher, so just get that out of your head.
Yeah, Dougie Hamilton, he's fun. He's a fun player to watch. For whatever reason, when I think of guys that I want, I don't think of Dougie Hamilton, though. But he is fun. That's just my thought. I don't know why he's not one of the guys that comes to mind. What do you think, Jack?
I actually kind of agree with you guys. Like, I'm willing to monitor the situation in Columbus with Seth Jones. I know he's not free agent until next year, I believe. They're supposedly talking contract extension, but it's been brought up before.
Signing there.
I kind of feel the same way. I mean, like that, he would be a game changer. And I know I'm like, a year and a half down the line, but like that's how bad things are here now. It's definitely something to consider. Maybe you do looking at free agency. If Dennis, I did it again. David Savard is still available. Maybe he's a guy you throw a short contract at. You have to play it by ear. Flat cap's going to hurt. I'm not against Adam Larson. I think he's the physical kind of defenseman we could use. I'm not breaking the bank for the guy.
That's the problem, I think.
Yeah, and it might be.
Adam Larson is he's going to expect a big contract, and that's going to go to a team like the Rangers.
You know what, though? When you look at the flat cap and a lot of these teams' cap situations and what they got coming up, you play it right, you might pull it off. A lot of people splurged last offseason, and we were not one of those teams, obviously.
Zero confidence in Chuck Fletcher to play it right.
That's a really valid point.
We signed fucking Gustafson for $3 million fucking dollars.
I know. I mean, there's other names like Brandon Montour should be available, Tyson Barrie, Alec Martinez, he's getting up there a little bit. And, there's a couple of guys. They got to wind up with somebody. I just don't want them to, like, go to the bottom of this list here and sign, like, Cody Ceci or some shit like that. Like, they need to get,
that's definitely what we're doing. And he'll play with Provorov every game.
Or Alex Mogoski, like, if they signed him or something. Like, come on, man. You're, like, 5 years past him being relevant. So, yeah, maybe it's an issue. I think they should just monitor it, but they also kind of got to be aggressive. They can't wait till everybody's signed and take the scrap heap what's left. And if Voracek goes to Seattle, they have money to play with. Yes. And guys like Hart and Patrick, they're not going to cost us what we thought they were going to cost us back like a year and a half ago when we were optimistic about our guys. Same with Myers and Anaheim, honestly. Like, they're not going to cost us same. So we're going to have more money than we thought. Flat caps are going to hurt, but it's going to hurt everybody.
Hopefully.
Maybe that was the whole play this year.
He's a secret genius.
It's the change. They changed the systems specifically to make everybody look like shit so we could sign them for nothing.
You know what would be great? You know what would be really great? If we could somehow, and it'll never happen, but it'd be poetic justice. If we could trade like Voracek and whatever we had to do, and we traded them to Columbus. And we're like, you don't like AV? Have fun with Tortorella, and then we get Seth Jones. You know what I mean? Obviously, that'll never happen, but like the idea of getting Seth Jones and trading whoever, I'd do it, even if it's interdivision, Konechny plus, obviously a lot plus, but it's the idea of them being part of the core who cries about the coaching staff. Have fun in Columbus.
Since we're kind of on this little subject here, our good buddy Chris, when we were talking about Nolan Patrick, recommended maybe they could send him up to Edmonton because that's close to home for Nolan Patrick. And my kind of thought is, you know what? Send him to goddamn Florida or Phoenix. Like, I don't care about where this kid wants to be happy.
Send him to the KHL.
Yeah, get him the hell out of here, man.
The sheriff plays, the British one. Send him there.
Hey, now. Better watch it, Jim or Jack.
Yeah, you'd have a guest for your show in a couple years, Steve.
You're gonna get beat the fuck up.
All right, before things get testy here, we're about an hour and a half in, boys. Friday night. Why don't we put a bow on this one? All the Christophers that hung out with us for this show, thank you very much. And DeMayo, as always, thank you. Megan, Scott, hey, is that your brother, Kyle?
That's my dad.
That's your dad. Thank you, Mr. Warner. Thanks for hanging out.
Yeah.
We're gonna put a bow on this one, guys. Before we
real quick. Anybody want to give like a final prediction before we jump on Monday afternoon? Like right now, what do you think gets done? Just, I don't care how many moves it is, just throw something at me.
Minimum moves. I think that they possibly move Lawton, maybe raffle, grab some picks. They might move something for another nobody to just finish out the season. Maybe a contract with some term for a guy who's expiring at the end of this year. I don't foresee them doing anything of significance now.
Yeah, I see them doing absolutely nothing. Maybe moving a Haig, a raffle for, I don't know, third.
I kind of agree.
Pick.
I have
to lean for my dad here. He just called out in the comment section Justin Braun. Hey, if we could get a third round pick for that second and third we sent, I wouldn't be too bad.
We got the second back when we traded back by not taking Cole Caulfield. We still got to get that third back, so I would do that.
I bet you that's exactly what happens too. He just goes back and fixes the mistake. Shit.
No, I think we're going to hear about Scott Lawton all Sunday and all Monday afternoon, and all the teams that are interested in him will just go elsewhere. And we decided to keep him. And maybe Raffle gets moved at the last second, but I don't think anything happens, honestly. I think he sits on his hands as usual.
Sucks, man. That's where we are with the Flyers these days, doing absolutely nothing, sitting on their hands at the trade deadline. Well, one thing we did not do this week was sit on our hands, or maybe we are. I don't know. Mine are up here. 2 shows out this week. Guys, you've had a bunch of content coming out. Kyle, why don't you tell us what you have going on with the Sheriff, buddy?
We got a bunch of shit going on with the Sheriff. Obviously, we just released Cam Jansen's, and then I believe we released Al Sinclair, big-time hockey connoisseur over in Canada. Next week, we got a bunch of new show. Con Dinosaur. And I'm fired.
Couldn't let that go. Sorry, go ahead.
Then we got a bunch of other stuff coming for you guys. Just make sure you check out the Sheriff. We're on Twitter at the Sheriff 2021. We're on Facebook at the Sheriff 2021, and we're on Instagram at the Sheriff.
Was that it?
That was it, man. I'm out. I have nothing else to say, dude.
I'm not looking at the screen, so I was expecting more. Okay.
It's the way you ended the sentence.
Sorry. I do that sometimes. I just kind of throw shit out there, and then I just pause awkwardly. It works out every time. It makes for good content.
Okay. Jack, you guys came out with a Full Circle episode this past weekend.
Full Circle episode, as I said before, we pretty much pegged the Palmieri deal. It was not what we expected with Sajak going the other way, and I thought the Devils would have acquired a prospect of Kiefer Bellows or something of that nature. Ultimately, Palmieri went to the Islanders. We're not going to do it again this week because we'll be gearing up for the trade deadline show, so just really look forward to that on Monday. Got a couple of guests coming on, as Jimmy is probably about to tell you. Yeah, that's really it from my end of the spectrum.
Okay. Yep. As Jack just mentioned, we will be back Monday. In the hours leading up to the trade deadline, we'll be joined by guest Kyle Hall of the Broadway Hat.
I'll be here.
We'll have 2 Kyles at the same time. Holy shit!
Do it. Nope.
Bring the Monster Energy drink drywall.
Hide your monsters. You knew it was coming.
Yeah. Yes, Junior's going to get on, and that'll be too much for me.
Yes. Once again, Kyle Hall of the Broadway Hat. That's a New York Rangers podcast, so we'll get some New York Ranger perspective. Boo. We'll have Shannon Walsh of the Slapshot Sweethearts. She is a Boston Bruins fan, so we'll see some Boston Bruin perspective there. And they are two great Belly Up Sports podcasts. You can find them on bellyupsports.com. We'll also have our very good friend, Alex Appleyard, hanging out with us. So look out for a live link Monday. We'll be on, obviously, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and I think I'm missing something, but that's okay. Yeah, it's whatever. So anyways, enjoy your weekend, boys and girls. Until then, Flyers fans, get outside, enjoy the weather, and take your vitamins. Thanks for hanging out.